Bloxburg has fallen off. Bad update after bad update after bad update. So today we're gonna talk about all of it. And of course, why it all happened. I did way too much research for this video. I got a lot of tabs open, so sit your butt down because we got a lot of drama, a lot of tea to spill today. So starting April 2024, this is where everything starts to go downhill. So on April 25th, we get an update. Let's see what the update's about. Equal pay, towing fee, hospital fee, which in case you didn't understand the 6 words I said, basically, we're giving you less money, but you have to pay more bills. And so everyone, rightfully so, was not so happy. Nobody likes the fainting features. Maybe if they wanted to make all Bloxburg jobs equal while keeping everyone happy, they could just raise pay for all of them. I'm sorry, Bloxburg has just become a laughing stock at this point. First, you take away our high pay, then you make us faint now. You add ugly blue boxy parking indicators. You refuse to listen. You give us a couch and a trophy that apparently even new players get. But because this was such a terrible update, we did see an increase in player count on the April 25th. And most likely people joined the game to see what all this Twitter hype is about, or yes, non-hype, and found out, whoa, this update is actually terrible. Gave the game a dislike, and quickly left the game. And this is just only for this update because the last update was on March 14th, and there wasn't really a significant increase in player base. It was just this controversial update here. So after all this backlash, Bloxburg did have a little bit of a hot fix where they, I guess, made everything less punishing, but at the end of the day, fainting, low pay, towing, it's still there. And the point of we just don't want it there. So people were still mad. This did not do much. Bloxburg claims that the reason why they added these updates is to add a more realistic touch to the game because it is kind of like a life simulator. But my problem is life has downsides to it. And at the end of the day, Bloxburg is just a game. A game is supposed to be fun. And so if you're adding these negative things where people have to worry about it, the game no longer is fun. It just doesn't make sense for the game. Anyways, so now we have one bad update month where somehow they managed to mess up 3 things. But anyways, it's fine. It's just 1 month, right? We're gonna go back to how things were before April. So we're gonna move on to May. May, there wasn't really an update. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that this was a bad update and they got a lot of backlash for it. I just think it was because of a late April update. Anyways, so we move on to June. June, as we all know, at the smack dab middle of June, Bloxburg decides, oh, well, let's go free. And let's just say it was not received so well. So no update then. Can I have a refund? Congrats on destroying the game. No map update, we were lost, we were robbed. So people were not happy. But these are just the OG players talking about how they don't want free players. What about the new players? They now get to play Bloxburg for the very first time. This should be good for them. This is an exciting moment. So let's look at it. There should be more new players, right? They're happy. Well, not really. They did join the game on the very first day. Got a lot of new players. This is good. And then they quickly left. Before it went free, we were at 20, 30K players. Now after it's went free, we're at 40K players. It's gonna go back to 20K soon. I promise you that. I did do a more in-depth video about the downfall, the rewards, trophy, the free players, everything, and why this downfall happened in a more detailed video here, why free Bloxburg was a disaster. So I do recommend you go watch that. When Bloxburg went free, they also added a tutorial for new players. This is wonderful. I think each individual section of the tutorial where the GUI is very nice, where they explain everything, tell you where to go, tell you what to click, it's all very good. But the problem is that I feel like the entirety of the tutorial, this is just my opinion, is just way too confusing and way too long. The whole gist of the tutorial is a storyline. It's a roleplay story where it's about you moving into your house. So you move these cardboard boxes to the house and then you have to learn to boost your moods, and then you go to build mode and place the beds. And then you also place the fridge. But oh wait, before you place the fridge, you have to go work so you can buy the fridge before you can place it. And then you talk about skills a little bit, like, oh, I should probably read some books to improve my skills. And then at the end you build a little bit. In my mind, yes, it's a cohesive story, but it's just way too confusing, jumping from this building to skills to this. And because they want to make this tutorial one cohesive story, there's a lot of text to help the story go along. This text is so unnecessary to the actual tutorial. Like, it makes you read everything, go through everything. This makes the tutorial way too long. The tutorial is like 30 minutes and in my opinion isn't even conclusive. And so because Bloxburg itself is already a confusing game, Don't make the tutorial more confusing and add a whole full life story into it. I think it would make so much more sense if the tutorial was split into multiple chunks, where first you learn about building, and then you learn about working, and then you learn about skills, and then you learn about moods. Because how our brain works, it's better to think of things in multiple chunks, multiple small chunks, than one big everything, taking in everything at once. Honestly, maybe I said all this and no one agrees with me, because me personally, I'm not a huge role player, so I don't really like this tutorial, but maybe this makes sense to everyone else. With that being said, I don't think that this confusing, way too long tutorial is the reason why a lot of players left. Though there has to be at least some that came to the game so excited to play it and then found out, oh my gosh, this game is so confusing because of this tutorial, and then left. So at this point, we have a bad update in April, we have a bad update in June, we have a back-to-back bad updates. And we know that the Bloxburg development team is well aware of this issue because we have two wonderful community managers, Amari and Brand P, whose job is literally to communicate and listen to the community. And they have had hot fixes before to try to fix the situation. So after June, we get a couple small updates, but surely behind the scenes, they're trying to fix everything, right? They have to be trying to redeem themselves, especially as a company, Coffee Stain, who claims to care so much about player retention. But no, they're taking a break. Honestly, I feel like this was just bad timing. They would have taken a break regardless, because as a company, they probably have some policy where employees need to take breaks. But because of the bad timing, people were not so nice about it. Relax and recharge, y'all haven't done anything. Haven't you already had a break for 5 months or so? I hope you guys have a nice break, but recharge from what? Chad is joking, right? So the map revamp is just, and so for the past 4 months, April to August, the game's been just going downhill, and people are starting to, rightfully so, get bored of the game. This isn't just a recent thing. Even starting back in April, people were starting to leave the game. But it's just everything's stacked up now. We have the April update, and then we have people going free, and then we have the break and everything. It's all stacked up. So many players are leaving. Basically, the gist of this post is it's basically been the same game for the past 8 years, except now role-playing is dead, and now somehow worse because of the updates. They need some big change. And so the biggest change right now that we know we're gonna get is a map revamp. But at this point, we've been waiting for this map revamp for so long. They better be changing up the entire map layout. Like, if they're just updating every building, like what they did to the gym and the burger restaurant to make everything look nicer, I just could not care less at this point. After this long and the map revamp being late, because Amari talked about how we initially were hoping to have the new map out sooner, but we realized we needed more time to get things how we wanted them. Our team is still actively working on the map overhaul along with other separate updates, and we'll share more details as we can. They better be adding a school, hospital, more plots, just make it feel more like a town. Well, actually, someone talked about how more plots might not be feasible because, yeah, I don't think 25 players per server is realistic. I remember them saying that even bumping the server size up to 14 to 16 would be challenging because the game might not be able to handle that many players' data at once. But all these issues is because of one main issue, which Abdul tweeted out here, this big tweet. Basically, it's saying there's lack of communication. Why do you guys have to keep everything a secret? Is there a specific reason why the communication with the community has been terrible over time? I personally disagree that lack of communication is the issue here, because when Coeptus was owning the game, he was the most secretive man of all time. We never got anything from him. The only thing we've ever gotten is retweets of some builds that he thinks are good, occasionally, and that's about it. We never got any update teasers, anything like that, and we were just fine with it. The game was just fine. In fact, people are now wanting Coeptus back. So I think the issue here is not a lack of communication, it's more of ineffective communication, where they're giving out teasers, oh, we might do this, and then not keeping any of their promises because they communicated anything at all, which in my opinion is worse than no communication, which was what Coeptus was doing. Basically, it's both are bad, but which one is worse? So it's like, oh, we're gonna have a map revamp, make sure to get excited for it, but oh wait, it's gonna be late, sorry. Whereas if we didn't get any of these teasers and all of a sudden it just came, we'd be like, oh my gosh, a map update, that's so cool. But because all of 2023, we've gotten really good updates and we've gotten good communication, we're now used to that. We've upgraded our standards, that is now our new norm. So then when we're going back to our old ways in 2024, it's like, it's harder to downgrade, you know? And because we got back to back bad updates, Cider, who is a Bloxburg YouTuber, tweeted this. What is Coffee Stain hiding? It's become more and more obvious that something weird is going on at Coffee Stain. There's way too many mistakes that don't make sense for a multi-million-dollar studio to be making. And that got me thinking, because Coffee Stain is more than just Bloxburg. They manage all these other games as well, the entire Coffee Stain company. And these games, based on the reviews and everything else I saw, are really successful. It just, how could they possibly mess up Bloxburg so bad? It just doesn't make sense. until it did. And so I went down a rabbit hole to try to figure out what's going on with Coffee Stain, try to figure out their background, and I found this video. And what I mean by going down a rabbit hole is I scrolled down low enough to find this video sent by Cider. Thank you. This chart right here basically explains how the whole Coffee Stain company works. And let me just say, it is so confusing. So I'm gonna explain. So Coffee Stain is a company that is owned by Embracer Group, but within the Coffee Stain holding company, they have a bunch of studios under that. These studios work all individually. They work on different separate things. This connection is how Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp is all owned by Meta, but they're all Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they're all separate apps. They work on different things. They have separate offices, separate employees. And so each studio here is working on their own games. And the studio that we're interested in, the studio that is working on Bloxburg, is Coffee Stain Gothenburg. And so because every studio works individually, the problem here is Coffee Stain Gothenburg. So let's learn about Coffee Stain Gothenburg. This video did talk about briefly here, but basically what it said is that Coffee Stain Gothenburg is a new studio created recently to take over the Welcome to Bloxburg by Roblox. And so what this means is that Coffee Stain probably hired new people to work at Coffee Stain. And so my first thought is, well, maybe they messed up the game so bad because it's new employees, it's a new company, they need to figure out how they want to work everything out. That just doesn't make sense because all of 2023, which is the first year that they were working on Bloxburg is doing great. We had good communication, good updates. It was fine. It was great. But that's just what's going on externally. That's just what we see in the tweets, what we see in the updates. Maybe internally, CSG is going through something. People found out there was this guy who was working at Coffee Stain Gothenburg who recently left, maybe resigned, been fired. We don't know. And people are saying that that might have something to do with what's happening internally with Coffee Stain. Me personally, I'm not gonna look too much into it. I'm not gonna make assumptions. This could be for so many reasons. Anyways, Bloxburg is now back from their break. They posted a little teaser, so we should be getting an update pretty soon. But people are still not excited about it. They still do not have high hopes for it. Another underwhelming update. Still got no hope, no faith in this update. This update might be out by the time that this video is out, so we'll see what happens. For now, click here to subscribe, then click here for more detail about why Bloxburg going free was a big fat disaster.